Hey everyone, welcome back to I Dream of Homestead. I'm Josefina and today we are in the kitchen making vaca frita with chimichurri. Now, vaca frita is not a Mexican dish, but it is a family favorite and it's one that I learned because of my husband who was born and raised in Miami. On a trip once to visit his family, he took me to a restaurant and there I tried vaca frita and since then was hooked. And so I did my best to get the flavor right. So my family absolutely loves this. My kids, my husband all get excited anytime I tell them I'm making vaca frita, and we cannot have it without having chimichurri on it. I am gonna let you guys know up front that the chimichurri I make is one that is just cilantro. There is no parsley in it. And I know that traditionally it does have it in it, but parsley makes me so nauseous. The smell of it, a heavy amount like that in there is just too much for me. I can do small amounts in dishes and I can do dried parsley in a lot of recipes, but fresh parsley like that, no thank you. A little while ago, I did put in 2 pounds of flank steak to boil with half of an onion, 4 cloves of garlic, peppercorns, and some bay leaves so that this can soften up and I can shred it once the chimichurri is done. I'm going to get to work on the chimichurri, and for that I got this humongous bunch of cilantro, which I think if you don't have any of this massive at your grocery store or in your garden, you can use about 2 regular sized bunches of it. I wish I could get cilantro to grow like this in my garden. I just started it last year, and so I basically have enough for a garnish. But for this, I'm gonna cut it in half. And I do like to use the stems. I never throw cilantro stems away just because they have so much flavor in them and the texture of it does not bother me at all. So I cut it in half and I am going to try to roll up as much of it as I can. You can throw all of these things into a blender and make a puree out of them. But I noticed from my family that we enjoy it so much more when I've gone through and minced it by hand, just because we like it chunkier and we like the flavor and the texture of it so much more. I have been trying to get this line out for like 3 minutes now, I swear, and I keep stumbling over my words. So maybe if I'm looking at you guys, I'll be able to get it out. Okay, so I'm mincing up some fresh oregano, and to do that, I'm gonna hold it from the top. And I've got the leaves growing this way, so you're gonna wanna pull in the opposite direction that the leaves grow. So I'm pulling, oh, que feo. So I'm pulling it this way. Well, look, snacks. I'm gonna do that with all these sprigs here that I have. If you're chopping all of this by hand like I am, you're gonna want the oregano to be more finely chopped than the cilantro is so that it mixes throughout it a whole lot better. All right, so last thing that you're gonna wanna chop and drop into this are some green onions. And normally I use 2 of them, but since these were smaller, I'm gonna use 4 of them. And the only part of this that I'm gonna get rid of are the hairy booty ends. Otherwise, all of this is getting added into that. My God, even with green onions, I'm a big baby. Lord. Next, I'm gonna add in the juice of half of a lime. Some red wine vinegar. Some crushed red pepper flakes. Some garlic powder. And the reason I'm using garlic powder rather than some fresh garlic is because I don't want it to have that spicy bite, since we eat this pretty much right after it's made. Pepper, some salt, and some avocado oil. And mix. I can already tell with the amount of oil that I used in this that it is too dry. I do want to see liquid. This was a really big bunch of cilantro, so I'm gonna add in some more. This is the exact texture that we love. This is how runny we like it. It is just so good. I love cilantro. It is my absolute favorite, and if you don't love cilantro, I am so sorry. Okay, so I've had 2 pounds of flank steak boiling for 2 hours. Now I'm going to pull them out and let them cool. I'm also gonna let this cool. Meanwhile, I chop the ingredients that are gonna go in with the meat, and then I'll strain this out and pour it into some containers so that I can then freeze it. You can also can this, and it is a fantastic stock for later. First thing I'm gonna do is take 6 cloves of garlic and just a pinch of salt and mash up the garlic into a paste. If you prefer minced garlic or garlic powder, whatever other form of garlic powder you want to use, you can use that, and you use as many cloves of garlic as your heart desires. Mine always desires a lot, so I'm going with 6. And the reason that I'm adding the salt in is so that I can crush those garlic cloves, because if you don't put in that salt, they will literally be slipping and sliding all over this, falling out, and it just takes so much longer. All done, and it took me exactly 1 minute to do, so doing it this way does not take much time at all, and it lets you mix it in throughout without getting really big chunks and bites in certain spots but not any in any other. All right, I've set that aside, and now I'm gonna slice up a whole onion. I've cut it in half, and then from there I cut that in half again, so it's technically in quarters, but I leave it attached at the booty so that I can do this much quicker and all at once. The last ingredient I'm gonna add to this, and it's completely optional, is some fresh oregano. And I'm just gonna mince that up. I'm just gonna mix that into my garlic. Those will go in together at the same time. So last thing is to shred this meat up. The pan is now nice and hot, and I've added some oil. I have it set to medium heat, which I think honestly on my stove is actually more of like a medium-high heat. And I have it on that high heat because I really want to give these onions a char as well as the meat. So next thing to go in is the onions. Now that the onions look like this, they're going translucent, they've got lots of brown bits, I'm gonna add in the meat. Now that I have the meat well mixed in with the onions, I see that it does need a touch more oil because it's kind of dry in the pan, and I want this meat to kind of get a little bit of a crisp in it. So I'm gonna add a drizzle of oil on top of it and toss that. So I've spread it out into an even layer, and now I'm gonna let that sit for a couple minutes so that the bottom of it gets nice and crispy. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, so now I'm gonna give it one more toss. All right, so now I've done the same thing where I've tossed it and made it into one even layer, so that this part of it can also crisp. And now that it's at this point, I'm gonna lower the heat, and I'm gonna add in the garlic and the oregano, and this goes in at the very last minute because I don't want that garlic to get a really nasty burnt overcooked taste, and the same with the oregano. So with that on low, I'm gonna toss in the garlic. Okay, and with it still on low, I'm gonna put the lid on it and just leave it covered for just a minute so that it cooks off that pureed garlic for me. And this is the end result. Okay, so remember that I added salt into the garlic when I was turning it into a paste. So that's why I did not add any at this point. So this is where you wanna check to see if it needs more. Time to eat. Oh my God. This is so good. So I made some white rice on the side, and I'm also having some avocado with it. If you guys want to know how I make my white rice, I can definitely make that for you in another video. Just let me know down in the comments. But I'm gonna take a bite and I cannot wait. Oh my God. I cannot put into words how absolutely delicious this dish is. You get like crunchy bits of meat along with that fresh bite of the cilantro in there. And then with the softness of the rice to go with it. And the acid from the vinegar and the lime that cuts through that meat. Oh my God. You guys, please try this. Please make this and tell me what you think about it. I swear it's gonna change your life like it's changed mine. You want a bite? I share. Here you go. Change your life. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I hope that you're willing to hit that subscribe button and stick around with me for a while on this journey to becoming a homesteader. I'll see you in the next one.